В тот момент, когда звучит он, правильно? Все молчали, поэтому не было возможности говорить. Все, я поняла, спасибо.
Я сейчас ухожу уже из эфира. Меня вы не будете слышать. Скоро начинаем. Следите за окошком спикер 2. Это я говорю сейчас всем.
Хорошо. Катя, пока вы отходили, мы починили переводчик. Так что наш модератор попросил все вопросы для Фрэнка и любых других участников дискуссии задавать на русском через переводчика. Спасибо.
Напоминаю всем не выключать камеру, если нет какой-то срочной необходимости покинуть сессию. Если собираетесь смотреть сессию до конца, не отключайте камеру. Спасибо.
Налить водички? Еще понятен. Это ваш стакан. Это туда, в список. Здравствуйте.
Простите, пожалуйста, нажал кнопку зря. Здравствуйте, коллеги. Доброе утро. Всем
Good morning, dear colleagues.
Морозное, уфимское.
It's a frosty morning here today. Thank you for being with us today.
Представить
First of all, I would like to introduce all our guests.
мероприятие. Давайте начну, наверное, с нас.
Let us start with myself.
Меня зовут Рушан Сабиров.
My name is Rushan Sabirov. I represent Center for Regional Tourism Development.
Модератор.
And Sergey is a director for innovation in our center. We're going to moderate this wonderful discussion, which is named the development of territories, management and marketing. Let me introduce our experts first. I'll put my mask down. I can't speak. I'll introduce my speakers one by one. I'll start with girls.
Ольга Филипенкова, Красная
Филипенкова Ольга.
А у нас будут какие-то аплодисменты?
Красная Полянка, Поляна.
Сегодняшнего...
Yeah, please, a round of applause.
Поаплодировать. Ирина Рейдер, Яндекс.
Ирина Рейдер, representing Yandex.
Буду переходить к мужчинам. Грэм Кук.
Now, Graham Cook, World Group. He is the founder and creator of that.
Алексей Венгин, Profit.
Alexei Vengin, Director General of Profit Travel.
Сергей? Я... Что?
What? What is it, Sergey?
Давайте я продолжу.
Let me continue.
По сегодняшней сессии давайте переходить к основным вопросам, да, сегодняшнего.
What do we discuss today?
Переходить к основным вопросам сегодняшнего мероприятия, да, и мы будем разговаривать
We're going to talk about
менеджмент,
the management of destinations, about marketed destinations, about process management.
И, ну, это такой животрепещущий и важный.
Because this is a very important issue.
Спикеры, помимо
And today's speakers, apart from offline speakers, we have several online speakers as well.
с удовольствием готовы
And they are glad to share their international experience in the development of destinations.
Вообще, ну, да, если говорить про...
In general,
говорить про такое понятие, как менеджмент дестинаций, да, существует...
Management destination
международно признанное, да, понятие
is a
management organization, да, это
world named, very well known term across the world.
организации менеджмент.
It is about the management
И
of destinations, basically.
этой темы.
And we're going to focus on that topic, or different aspects of that topic. How could it be applied here in this country? Best practices and best cases.
Применять. Вот. И первым, кого бы я
And the first person I would like to
сказаться на этот счет,
give floor to
пожалуйста, Грэм.
is Graham Cook.
У нас микрофоны, кажется, да, у нас микрофоны включены.
Our microphones are on. Please tell us,
Ну вот, относительно того, как должно выглядеть управление.
how should the destinations be managed?
Слышно, да, Грэм, меня?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Вам переводят, все в порядке?
Do you have the translation?
Well, if I was to start by saying welcome, first of all, to all my colleagues here at UFA. This is my first time in UFA. This Congress and International Business Week is a very interesting concept. And today, I believe we're talking about the destination management of tourism, convention bureaus and tourist boards. I think the first thing to ask is obviously in the last 49 years that I've certainly been in business and as a publisher, the world has changed incredibly. If we were to fast track to 2020, you now have in excess of 200 countries, nearly 3,000 destinations that have convention bureaus and tourist boards. And because of technology, and I mean technology, the world has changed so fast in the last 2 to 3 years with social media that every destination management company and tourist board that we have in any way contact with has changed its basic business practices. In the old days, most tourist boards used to have representatives. Countries' tourist boards would have representatives in all their major destination markets. The actual products that tourism is made up of now has changed so much. Adventure travel, wellness, health tourism, medical tourism, the traditional forms of the product itself has also changed. So what has now happened is that the majority of tourist boards and destination convention bureaus are using social media, video, TikTok, LinkedIn. All of the different social media platforms have now become the major investment and practical way of marketing your destination. It amazes me very much in our business how poor overall this is done by the tourist boards. I'm generalizing. There are some fantastic tourist boards, a lot of creative work that is done, but when it really comes down to the communication, very similar to me being here today, language should be right at the top of your social media and your marketing, i.e. speak to people in their language. Now, English is the most spoken language as a second language. Spanish is actually ahead of English. To speak to the Russian people, to the Russian tourists, my advice to all of the destination marketing companies and tourist boards, speak in Russian. If you want to speak to the Chinese, then you need to look at Weibo, WeChat, and actually speak the language very clearly, very methodically, and use the social media channels. The world has changed, and I'm sure all of my panel here this morning, if I asked all of them, I'm sure they're either on Instagram, Facebook, VK if it is Russia. You've obviously recently been listening about TikTok. Forget the size of these companies with their capital valuation. It's the reach that these platforms have. So there is no excuse for any tourist board today not to be able to talk to its potential customers. And that's my main point.
Thank you. Спасибо большое, Грэм. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting concept.
На сегодняшний день не можем простить
We can't forgive any tourist board have not been on the international platforms. That's true. Sergey, I would like to give floor to you. I'm going to use you because we talked with Graham on this side of the panel. Let us address that side of the panel. Well, indeed, management of destinations can be from the side of marketing and from the technical terms. And I think we're going to have Frank. Then I would like to address Frank and ask him to share his personal experience, the best practices that impress, the practices we may want to look at, some practices that we would like to use in our own activities and practice for the development of tourists in Russian.
Мы можем, да, коллеги, мы можем вывести в эфир Фрэнка, подскажите?
Yeah, Frank, can hello, Frank? Hello, Frank?
Yes, hello, good morning. Доброе утро. Фрэнк, поделитесь, пожалуйста.
Could you please share? We're talking about management of destinations, about the organization, about the approach to management of destinations. Are there global approaches that have influenced you significantly, that impressed you, that we may want to use here in Russia for the development of tourism?
I'm very sorry. I'm hearing all the time English, the Russian language, and that is not the language that I master. So I do not know what the question was. If somebody could repeat the question in English, I will gladly answer it.
Frank, thank you. Thank you. We heard about that. So Sergey asked you about the best practices in the world, about DMOs, destination management organizations. Where did you see the best practices? What cases can you show us or tell us about?
Okay, thank you. First of all, it's a pleasure and a honor to be part of this symposium. I wish I would be in Mokva, but technology makes a lot of things possible. I think on top of my list would probably be Amsterdam. Amsterdam and extension Holland. And I'll come to it later, but it's not the only one. Of course, you'll say, yes, that's easy. I mean, you talk about a city. We have Moscow, we have St. Petersburg. Why don't you talk about a larger geographic place than just Amsterdam? But it's already good to start as to say, why do people want to go to Amsterdam and Holland and not to Belgium, which is just 50 kilometers away? Why do people want to go to San Francisco and not to Los Angeles? So if you look at some bigger parts in my top 3, top 4, it would be Tanzania, it would be the Seychelles, and I guess something, because indeed you are the largest country in the world, and people know Moscow, they know St. Petersburg, but who knows Kazan, and who knows Altai outside of Russia, and still those are beautiful places to go to. And probably Australia is then the one that comes in size and attractiveness close to Russia, because Australia, it is Sydney, it is the coast, it is the desert, it is island, and yet it all comes together. And I would like to take the next 5 minutes by telling you a bit as to what do I think are the 6 important elements that you need to have before you can even start marketing. Because I agree that you can have, in today's world, lots of positive marketing, but if you do not have your basics right, you cannot market a product that is not the right product. And I'm wondering whether you should also not equally today talk a bit about, do you have the right product? And the ultimate best ambassador, the best marketing people are those that have physically visited the country, have visited the place. People that have gone to Kazan, they are the best ambassadors of telling you what they are. But let me tell you what I would think are my 6 criteria before you even start doing the marketing. And once you have them, marketing becomes a much more easier one. The first one has to do with image. Create and deliver a relevant aspirational image. In Holland, it is windmills, it's canals, it's cheese. In Australia, it's open space, adventure, freedom. For me, if I would say Russia, I mean, who am I to have an aspirational image? But to me, it is, if I would go and take it from east to west, from north to south, it is the huge country where culture meets nature. That's what, in my mind, Russia stands for. Culture meets nature. But you need to have that image, that aspiration, that people want to go there because they want to go to that aspirational image. They want to go to that safari. The second one is infrastructure. Do you have the right infrastructure? Do you have the right, can I go there? Can I easily go there? Do I have are there hotels in place? If I look at, and I know my comments are going to be comments which are from an outsider, but if I look at Altai, for instance, it's either very expensive or very cheap, but not for the average tourist. Do we have the right infrastructure to really offer to the consumer? And the third one is experience. People want today more than ever before an experience. It is no longer something that people want to go and take a picture of the Red Square or want to take a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. They want to have an experience. When I took my grandchildren to Tanzania, what they want to do is they want to have the safari experience. And I think in your marketing, go beyond just the actual picture. Tell your people what you can offer your customer as an experience, what they can be part of it. If you go to Amsterdam, you feel like an Amsterdammer. You can ride the canals. You can go there. You can feel the spirit. Travel is becoming much more having all of your senses. It's much more an emotional experience than ever before. And thirdly, fourthly, do not underestimate the principle of put your customer first. Make sure that you are not the one that knows this is take it or leave it, but what does the customer want? I was very impressed with opportunities that I got when I was talking to some people in Altai and said, I want to do this, I want to do that. They took it serious rather than say, no, we cannot do that. And so always, it's not easy for many countries because many countries believe that they have the most beautiful sites and they say, this is it, take it or leave it. The customer has many, many choices. The customer can decide to go to so many places in the world. And I think if the customer already, the journey starts before you're there. It's the element of feeling that, yes, it's going to be a great experience. They know they understand me rather than a one-way street. And the second to the last is appeal to everybody. There are very few places that can be very to the exclusive, but really think about how can you appeal to everybody, because the same consumer, the same customer is a different customer today versus tomorrow, depending on where the places are. I am a different customer when I'm going as a businessman to Moscow versus when I go and travel with my grandchildren and I want to show them Moscow. Yet I want to have that experience. And the sixth and the last one is be honest, be transparent. Don't exaggerate, don't tell something, don't offer which you cannot offer. In the coming 2 years, the element of how COVID is being treated is of extreme importance in terms of are people gonna be daring to go and travel there. I'm on the board of a African tourist organization. Their major concern is not so much what they can offer, but how can we convince our customer that it is going to be safe to come here? And that's going to be a key element going forward. And in that sense, don't lie, because lies always come and haunt you. And then you come to my first principle, which is your best ambassador is those who have visited the place. But that ambassador can be a negative ambassador as well. So those are my topics in terms of, I would challenge you. Do you today have in Russia, do you have the basics right? Do you have this aspirational image? Do you have the infrastructure beyond a city like Moscow or St. Petersburg? Which experiences can you offer? Do you really put the customer first? And do you really appeal to everybody in a very honest way? And when you have done that, then I think the marketing is easy. The tools are there, but it all starts with having those 6 basic premises right. And I'm personally convinced that Russia has so many things to offer, from Siberia, from the Altai to the Kazan to St. Petersburg, and find a common denominator, which in my mind would be culture meets nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Are you still here? Thank you very much. It was very pleasant. We were very happy to see you, and I'm sure that our colleagues, first of all, your opinion is very important for us. Then we're very grateful that you share it with us. Thank you very much.
Frank, I forgot about that. You're listening only in English, and you can't you can't translate in Russian. I want to thank you thank you about your experience, about your sharing of experience, and fellow colleagues are telling thank you for you. Thanks for the time that you have been with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Спасибо большое.
So I have a thought that we're talking a lot in the Center of Development of Regional Tourism. What is the strategy? What is the right strategy when we're going from top to regions and development of destinations we regard from up to down, or it's a dot development or regional development, and then it goes to some united center, whether we need it or not. But from the point of view of marketing likes digits, numbers, and it's first of all digits. And I would like to ask Irina to share analytics of the current demand. As far as I understand, it will be shown. And what are the preconditions that you see? What conclusions can be made? Do you see personally for the development of tourism and destinations? Yes, thank you. Let me say a few words and we can discuss together on the ground of these preconditions. Yandex really, my name is Irina Raider. I joined Yandex Travel 1 month ago to develop traveling in Russia, and I will tell you about what do we see in Yandex, about the situation on the market and what we are doing as Yandex Traveling. So we renewed the figures today, and what do we see? Of course, the market hasn't restored yet completely, but here we can see minus 24% on requests, but it's the total request for home and foreign tourism. So it's a total of the market. And then we see that if we speak about home tourism, the figures are much better. But on the whole, it's minus 24% on requests. So it's a drop of market. And of course, tours suffered a lot because tours concern more foreign tourism. If we speak about dynamics today, then we see that if we speak about the dynamics of high season, on many directions that I was talking about, that the market has grown up to 30% on the peak, on top of the season, and this is this is a result that we could hardly expect. And on the whole, at the beginning of autumn, there was increase in international destinations. If we have a look at this picture in general on requests, so here we can see that in summer the market was practically minus 9% in comparison with the last year. But in summer, when the pandemic wave dropped, the market has practically restored. But today we see the increasing drop and a negative dynamics. So it's right now minus 28% if we compare with November with last year. So probably this is the most interesting slide if we speak about dynamics of home tourism and different regions of Russia. And on the right you can see leaders. There are more requests, so that's why they're highlighted, they're separated. It's Krasnodar region. The request increased and demand increased plus 16%. If we speak about Crimea, so increase is about 50%. It's a giant leap within 1 year. And if we look at regions on the left graph, so on the one hand they are sorted according to volume of requests, and on the other hand we can see the leaders on increase, and the leaders are Shirigesh, and within the coming winter season the growth is 2 times within 1 year, and I believe it happened only because of pandemics. And also Karelia increased 50%, Kurskaya Kasa increased, so the increase is more than 50%, and other regions of course also look better, but on the whole all the leading touristic regions of Russia, they grew up within this period, and this is the effect of COVID. It's a positive effect of COVID that affected home tourism. Here it's very important to say that the hotels are still the main factor for demand in search. It's 38%. And what has changed in this graph if we compare it with 2019? So on the second place there was tours that shared tickets, but today the tours dropped, and they take on the 5th place here after air tickets and railway tickets. Of course, COVID affected them drastically. At the same time, we have a very interesting dynamics according to types of accommodation in November, but I believe that these numbers, they're true for the whole year. Today we have more requests for non-standard accommodation because the hotels are more loaded right now, and they're less accessible, and they become more expensive. So that's why people are looking for more non-standard places of accommodations. So resorts increased, cottages increased, houses increased on 74%. And the main question is whether these dynamics will be remaining after the pandemics. But I believe this year is about people tried traveling more inside Russia and tried to find more alternative type of accommodation, and I believe this trend will remain in the future. What about the current season that we're entering? I believe here are also very interesting numbers. It's 51% this year, and probably you feel it. It's about requests on alpine skiing resorts, because people didn't have enough time to have rest in summer, so that's why the volume of this destination has increased, just because the demand moved, because people need to have rest and they want to have rest, and that's why we have increase here. It's a huge and giant number. And the question where to go skiing is very relevant today all over the country. And we see the dynamic that people from months to months, they increase the request because they're planning their New Year holidays, but from year to year this number drops. So all in all, the request for the demand for traveling dropped for the new year in comparison with other years, but for alpine skiing resorts, it increased. So, and we see that people read articles about the rules of going out from the country, and they make a lot of requests, and they try to understand where they can go in November 2020. And on Yandex, we're planning to make a more detailed analytics where it is possible to go out and with what rules. If we speak about the marketing, it's another topic that I would like to speak briefly. It's about the profile of Russian traveler. It's not about the changes, but about who is a Russian traveler. It's the same for all the destinations. The most important figure, if we speak about consumption, it's mobile first. So the red color that you see, it's a mobile devices. If we speak about winter holidays, and we see it in our Yandex traveling, it's more, 60 to 40 mobile wins, and this is very important when we are speaking about the product. One thing is a touristic product, and the other thing is your digital product. So your digital product must be mobile first and adapted for mobile gadgets. Maybe not a special application, but the interface must be very easy to use. It's a must. A few words about sex and age. There's no discovery here, but I would like to mention it once again. So the spread is practically equal between men and women. If we look at the right graph, we understand that the most active age 25-34, and we have 50 to 50 of high and low income, and the women have more moved to the average income. If we speak about the spread of income, 18-24 is more than average. If we increase the age, which is natural, we have 58%. It's average income, and then we have high income. So it's a high share of high income of people who are traveling, who have income more than average Czech in Russia. And a few words about the marital status. Mostly 2/3 of people are married and mostly travel with kids of older age, which can be also very important for the territories. So it's the age 6 to 11 and 11 to 16 years, so it's quite grown-up kids that need kind of entertainment. Not a kid's room, but something different. I have 2 kids myself, and it's sometimes not an easy task to organize. In Krasnaya Polyana, we have Riders Watch, because they have PlayStation, and it's a very, very seldom entertainment, but available in the hotel. And for me, it was a criteria of choice, because we don't have it. And these statistics is very important in terms of marketing of product, because the majority of people traveling with kids. And a few words about Yandex Travel, because the service is, on the one hand, has been developing for a long time, but with different paces. And my task is to unite it, to join it, and to develop it in one pace. And today, Yandex Travel covers all the verticals that we have in Russia, from the demand of the tourists. So it's a search for tickets. We have connected direct sales for Aeroflot. This is hotel search. I will say a few words later. So Russian traveler can, on one portal of Yandex, cover all his demands on planning his trip inside Russia. Here we have that we're continuing to grow in crisis, and it means because Yandex is aimed at more than traveling inside Russia, and pandemics has two effects, whether it's negative, but it positively affected the demand in Russia for traveling inside the country. So we grew up 20% in August, and we have 22.5 million users for months. We're still growing, and I want to share that yesterday we had a special exclusive action together with Aeroflot. We sold 50 times more tickets on Yandex Travel than we usually sell. It's a good marketing that we can give to the carriers and to destinations as well. We haven't done it before. That was the first time we did it, and of course we will continue doing that. And I will say a few words about hotels, because hotels and accommodation is the major request of Russian travelers. If we speak about the product, people today, hotels where they live and when they have experience, but they still need to leave to spend nights somewhere, it's very important for them. So we were very thorough in now developing the search engine for hotels so that they can choose the hotel and compare the prices on different web resources, booking.com or Astrovok. So we give a person opportunity not only to come to Booking and book the hotel, but also to compare the prices and maybe to see some reviews of Russian travelers on our Yandex Maps. And the very important numbers here is that more than 70% of visits are made from mobile devices. So it's the majority of people using mobile devices. And this is a trend that will only grow up. What is important is our service is integrated with the search engine. So when people will start looking for hotels in your region, so these hotels, they will be available at once. So it's not going through some links. It will be visible result in the search engine. And it's kind of a card for the hotel for certain request, with all the contact details, with comparison of prices, with the reviews and possibility of choosing the dates. So it's fully integrated system in Yandex search engine, where a person can get the information, choose the dates, and check the prices and book the hotel. And it's all integrated in Yandex Maps. So you can see the hotels on the map with prices, with reviews, and it's super friendly for the users. I would like to say that Yandex Traveling today in the hotel, we launched the service only last year, but this year we're trying to actively develop it. And the first promo we had with Avia, with Aeroflot, but we will think about promo with the hotels on Yandex Travel, something we were speaking about SMM. We have channels in Zen, in Yandex Zen, in Telegram, in Facebook, not in TikTok, but we need to get there as well. But on all social media channels, we leading the content, we give information about offers. That's why Yandex Travel will be developed in formatting destinations and tourism in Russia. So I would like to finish with that and give word back to...
Спасибо большое. Вопрос, я правильно услышал, в 50 раз больше билетов, чем стандартно?
Да, 50, да. То есть это была, для всех, кто не успел в Черную пятницу, это была действительно акция, которая была доступна только у нас. И там еще интересная такая была динамика, что пик, акция была с 12 ночи до 12 ночи, то есть полный день. И изначально был пик тех, кто пришел в первую очередь, в первый час. Реально люди. Потом был такой, как бы, динамика высокая, и потом был последний пик снова в последний час, все, кто окончательно решились. Вот, поэтому, да.
Ну да, я думаю, что коллеги, кто занимается маркетингом и так или иначе когда-либо запускал маркетинговые какие-либо акции и мероприятия, понимают, что такое акция в 50 раз ростом, да, относительно текущего спроса. Это очень круто. Спасибо большое, Ирин. Но да, все идет к тому, что по сути у нас в стране туризм, ну, там, любую семечку, которую не кинь, да, там, она будет прорастать. В 50 раз мы увеличиваем количество запросов и купленных билетов.
We're increasing the number of tickets that we've bought by 50.
Да, который тоже показал, что
For example, this cashback that the Rostourism has launched,
во второй раз уже лучше, да.
there were some
У меня в связи с этим
questions the first time they launched this promotion, second time it was better. My question is,
давайте, коллеги, развивать устойчивый туризм. Вот,
they say, let us
вот,
develop sustainable tourism.
да, семечек, заброс
Let us
вот этих вот, которые быстро-быстро прорастают, иметь
plant some seeds that
да, будем ли мы
grow fast. Shall we have sustainable development of the tourism?
да, то есть это тоже все.
Shall we hunt quality, not quantity? Because it's a parameter of management.
Ну, мы же понимаем, да, что
We understand that sustainable tourism development
природу, да, там,
allows to save nature, preserve resources. That's all important. So, therefore, I would like to switch on online, where we're going to have Anna Urnova, Moscow Center of Urbanistics. Anna, can you hear us? We can hear you. Hi.
Анна, ну, собственно, да, мы вас приветствуем.
We greet you here. Thank you for being with us.
Обсудить с вами тоже и послушать ваше мнение.
We would like to hear your opinion concerning sustainable development of tourism, about the destination management.
Да, благодарю за вопрос.
Yes, thank you for your question.
То, что сегодня участвуют.
I'm thanking partners and colleagues for the participation. The previous speakers were very interesting.
Наверное, стоит начать про устойчивое развитие.
I guess I would really start with sustainable development. That's what Frank said. The creation of image and infrastructure. And these ideas come first before the sustainable development, because this is something that doesn't exist in Russia so far.
Пока поиск людей идет по отелям и по поиску размещаться,
people are searching for hotels so far, where to look for. They're not really looking for specially protected tourists or ecotourism. It's not among the top. And that shows that we have problems with the infrastructure. That's about sustainable development. As for the management, that's a difficult situation to me. I stick to the Western decentralized approach when destinations develop by themselves. And for Russia, it's important because the country is really very big. We have a lot of very different destinations, and the unified brand Visit Russia is not true. It's not true, because Russia can be Asian, Russia can be European, can be natural, can be cultural, historical. So when we talk about management, we should think and understand how a small location works and what image it has. In my practice and what we do in Urbanistics Center, we are trying to create a very pristine and transparent myth of a territory. And from that on, we develop marketing and everything else. It's hard to create a myth for the entire Russia, but it's possible to create a myth for a story or a settlement. That's probably it. I don't think there is anything else to say here. It's more about discussion. Yeah, thank you. As for management, as for the management that you see correct for the Russia, is decentralization and the management of the end destinations at the level of destinations. And
Я бы говорила не о контроле
Is that true?
верхнем, а
I wouldn't say that there should be some control on the top level. The top level, the federal level should just support. For example, Russian tourism doesn't control, but it just supports our committees and other authorities who are involved in development sites in region, marketing and management.
Да, да, именно.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Thank you very much. Applause this way. I really like applause in the audience.
Сергей, мы возвращаемся, да?
Менеджмент дестинаций как механизм.
If we look at destinations as mechanisms, then there are two extremes in the approach. It's either from small to big or from big to small. I have questions. I have more questions to Irina. The figures that you've showed, I saw that the audience took the pictures of the figures and they sent these figures somewhere. I think that the main value here is that as a consumer, we don't see these figures. It's very interesting for us as consumers to see those figures. You have used the word demand, and in business we say the interest doesn't mean demand. Those who are interested in destinations and those who really pay, these are different stories. The figures you showed, is it interest or is it about paying? Those people who really paid for, who became your clients. These figures we saw, it's demand. That's search requests. But the question is whether the situation is different from last year. This balance between demand and supply, I don't think that this conversion is different a lot. I think these search engine requests equal the purchases that we had last year. So we can claim that if we have some great demand, some interest, we can see that there is increase in the purchases. Yeah, there should be some product. And the question is how many people a certain site can handle. Because there are very few sites where you can have your holiday in a quality way. We really don't have enough hotels and accommodations. So infrastructurally, we are not ready for this increase that we saw this year. We're not ready for it. Yeah, thank you. That now I can see your. Now let us switch to Alexei and ask you the following question. In terms of creating competitive tourist products, which approach is correct based on your experience? If we look at the figures Irina had shown, of course we said that we should develop infrastructure. It's clear, because many companies just can't handle a lot of demands. They cannot produce a good product to this increase in demand. It's a good question because I think that destination should come from top to bottom. For example, Sheregesh and the demand of Sheregesh. Today, the increase is the demand is increasing. And if investor comes to Kuzbas and builds something there, we can't say that it's going to be popular or not. And the destinations that are developed from top to bottom by the authorities, they are very successful. We have 8 or 9 regions in Russia, and some regions succeed, but most don't. And what is the reason for success stories? We've analyzed the principles. We've analyzed regions that are growing, except for Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi. They're growing because they have sea or because they're capitals. Or like Baikal is growing because Chinese come into Baikal. The main reason why other regions grow is that they study their consumer. It's not just where they come from, but really understanding their demands. Because many regions simply they build their product, the tourist product, and then start searching for a consumer. But that's the wrong story. You should study your competitors and then make a product. There are wonderful opportunities for that. We have Sberbank, Megafon. We have our own analytics center. And we define a tourist. Like, is it person who's coming to relatives? Is it a businessman? Is it a tourist? Because these are different categories of people. We're not just seeing that a person who came for a certain period. We study where the tourists came. And a tourist is someone who visited several tourist sites. And then we have like a normal figure. The second growth point is definitely defining when we have studied the customer profile. We need to concentrate on how this region is different from its competitors. I can give you an example that there are hundreds of offers from tour operators, and they have different products. And it's very difficult to promote these products. And the administration of the region should define the main spots and help to promote. For example, Tyumen in the last 3 years developed very strongly. They chose 3 directions. The first one is Sibir on your own will, that is like Rasputin's house and so on. It's like 3-4 days route. Second one is an oil route. They made a study training center near Tyumen, and they take tours there. And third direction is a spa center that was promoted across media. They have research investments into these 3 directions. And for each region, it's a good way so that they could position themselves, distinguish themselves among others. As of the first cashback stage, was one of the top 10 regions who managed to promote their sites. Another example is
топ-3 маршрута, я сказал, да, там самые основные. Да, еще один пример очень важный, это все-таки бренд, да, то есть бренд важен.
Is a brand. Brand is important.
Не сам по себе бренд,
but it's not really the brand, but how you feel the brand. This year, I was in 5 different Siberian regions, and I understood that each region promotes as a Siberia.
Именно регионально, их 2.
There are 2 Altais. We're now in Urals here, and every region promotes itself as Ural.
Это настоящий Урал, это настоящий.
This is real Siberia, this is real Ural, but for consumer, it's all the same.
Вот тут даже история не про управление дестинацией.
It's not really about managing destinations from on top, but interregional brands are also
законодательно им очень тяжело объединяться в какие-то истории. Вот как бы хороший пример.
Also important.
Очень известный.
A good example is Khakassia and Krasnoyarsk Krai.
2 региона в один маршрут.
And these two.
Да, то есть и как бы эта история.
And these 2 regions are promoted together.
Такие короткие межрегиональные маршруты.
And these regions have interregional routes and promote themselves together. So we can, for example, promote Altai by 2 regions and Sibir by 2 regions. And the 4th story is the analysis of the promotion efficiency, because when you have a consumer portrait and then routes, then brand, you also need to promote.
Очень хорошая точка роста, потому что многие регионы сейчас регионы не дорабатывают.
Because some regions,
у большинства из них, да, это посещение.
Most regions have a low KPI.
Да, при продвижении, то есть и они смотрят, учитывают цифры. Посещение сайта, которые в принципе как бы не дают никакой возможности для.
Look at how many people.
Там в экономическом там плане, да, либо.
How many people visited the website of the region, but it's nothing.
Они позволяют.
Today's promotion technology allow to track how many tourists came to.
У нас есть такие кейсы, мы их тоже делаем.
To region after advertisement.
И вот мне кажется, концентрация.
And I think the concentration on these growth points.
Осознание их.
And understanding these growth points means that regions should develop together, because regions know themselves only, but at the federal level, you see the bigger picture. All regions need to grow. But these practices can help to grow more consistently.
Let's move to questions a bit later at the end, so don't forget your question. I would like to agree with you. For me, as often visitor of different touristic exhibitions, it was always bizarre when you turn to the right, you see Altai, and then you turn to the left, you see Altai. For the consumer, there's only one Altai, and there are no Republic of Altai and Altai region. They don't exist for the consumer. I was dealing with Altai product, and when I tried to explain, people, they absolutely indifferent. I discovered for myself that Alexei came to a standard classic marketing model in his page. He came to model 4P, price, place, product, and promotion. A classic model, and I believe we have 7P models right now, 8P models, a lot of Ps have appeared, but in the core, this model, it really works and it's really effective. Yeah, you should start with less. Start with 4P and then you move forward. Okay, thank you very much. Sergey, do you have something to add? Yes, what I heard and what I tried to pay attention to is that we start from the possibilities of the region, from the anchor points, and then we look at the picture who will go there. Sometimes we have transit regions. They have a huge traffic to another region, and that can be used as well. First thing that you named, to look through the prism of people who are going to the region. Yes, of course. And then what possibilities does the region have? And then So I have to, a picture to myself, coming back to if we say that management is a mechanics, so the projecting and designing comes from the region, right? So it goes from down to top. No, I believe that design and projecting comes from top because the resources in our country concentrated in the state, and with the right actions of administration, it can attract the product that is built in the region. The business itself doesn't know how to unite. I haven't seen any example in Russian regions when associations would unite business and make an interesting story. I mean, on regional level, maybe there are some examples, but they're very rare. If the business cannot unite, they can't build the unified model. Oh, yes, right now I understand. But at the same time, it can be a story when one model of management created on top cannot live in the region, right? Yes, very easily. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. But at the same time, there must be a certain story with the possibility of regulating. For example, you must have not at least 15 employees in a department or a ministry, and they must deal with these and that directions: investments, catering, sales. And in one region it is necessary, and in the other region it's not really necessary, as in any other kind of business. If you look at it as a business, what should we do here? How Rostourism can recommend what we should do? Take into consideration that regions, in most cases, the final personality, they are subject to Ministry of Economic Development or Ministry of Natural Resources or Culture, or in some regions. So how can it be done? You raised a very interesting question, Roshan. We have a centralized government state. So the methodology of work in the region and the system of KPI counting must go from top. There must be some indicators each region lives according to. I would give example of a story with investment rating, investment attractiveness rating, where each governor has KPI, and I believe the same must be used in tourism, and it would be obvious and transparent that the system is changing. Maybe the team must be changed, results of work, and so on and so on. So when it will not work. So if we speak about the data, we should altogether come to some unified story with the data. If commercial structures will calculate on using Sberbank, others will use mail, third will use MTS and Megaphone. They will have their own data relating to how many real tourists came to the region. So we should agree. And the fifth will calculate tourists at the airport, yes. And volunteers as well will note the tourists. Yes, okay. So, from very interesting stories, I heard the topic of that each stakeholder must choose top 3 directions of development. Position yourself or die, What I'm trying to say is that probably it's for Rostourism as a state organization, they must position some places as well. Did I get the message right? On the regional level, it's understood we choose medicine, ecology, or something else. But on the federal level, I believe on the federal level, on the territories of perspective development, this story is about the money. For infrastructure, for repairments of embankments, roads, and so on. But positioning must go from the region itself. Rostourism will not understand what to promote in Chelyabinsk or in Tyumen. Chelyabinsk is not the worst in Tyumen in some cases, but Chelyabinsk, it's in the shape it stays right now, and Tyumen moved forward, for example. Let's switch our online. We have another speaker. It's Katya Zhekova. She's attaché on tourism of Ambassador Republic of Bulgaria. Good morning. We greet you, and we have a question. Bulgaria is quite popular in touristic, is very touristic attractive country. So we'd like to understand if we come to the question of management of destinations, how the process was built, where do you see advantages of this process, the way it was made correctly, or maybe you can tell us about our negative experience so we can understand and not to avoid it in the future. Good morning, it's very pleasant. It's a very interesting topic and a discussion, and to listen to all the speakers. And you raise very interesting questions as well, offers, and of course the problems, the solution of which could be very useful for all of us. Yes, it's true that Bulgaria is a very popular touristic destination in Russia and in Europe. It develops as a country with developed touristic product for many, many years. But for a long time, Bulgaria was popular as a sea resort and alpine skiing resort. Sea resort because this beach line is not very long, 300-something kilometers, but we have a lot of beaches and spa complexes, and we have a lot of tourists coming to Bulgaria for many years. And when we started opening different opportunities for rest, it was unexpected for the majority of people. They didn't know what, where. They didn't know about other richness of our country. We've created Ministry of Tourism. It was 5 years ago, in 2015. We had made a thorough work on evaluating resources of Bulgaria as a touristic destination, and it turned out that you should just speak about everything we have, show it, and connect touristic products and offer as a part of destination richness, so that the tour operators that offer product on other markets and the tourists themselves would learn about it. But Bulgaria is not a big country. It's very available. You can come to Bulgaria within 2 or 3 hours from any European city, and within several hours you can travel around the country. But it's very rich in natural and cultural aspects that could make the product very attractive and more diverse. Not only economic part moved us to do this, but because tourism is a very important part of Bulgarian economics. More than 14% of GDP gives tourism, but also tourism helps to develop different regions. In the ministry, we created a record of national touristic record of touristic events, record of touristic attractions, and these huge databases they are enlisted on the web page of Ministry of Tourism, and they regularly added and changed. we started promoting Bulgaria as touristic destination for all-year tourism. And then the ministry made it in the slogan, Bulgaria all year round. And practically for 4 years, Bulgaria, for the whole year, was our major motto. We connected our culture, because culture, not a lot of people know that Bulgaria is in top 20 countries in the world with huge cultural heritage. After Greece, Italy, we have more than 40,000 cultural artifacts. It's very interesting for the tourists. It turned out that tourists who visited Bulgaria, and Bulgaria has become attractive, these are the tourists that demand not only the rest. Not a lot of people want to come just to the beach and look in the skies, or go on alpine skiing and have rest in the hotel. People want to have some additional programs, interesting, maybe educational programs, cultural programs, and they want to get something additional, something new. And then we didn't realize how much it would be interesting, the unique museums would be interesting for them that we have in Bulgaria. Museum of Milk, Museum of Bulgarian Rose, Museum of Humor, Museum of Salt in Pomoria region. And it turned out that it is very important that we have these kind of objects on territory, but so that the tourists know about them, and that we would speak about and tell the tourists about these objects. Health tourism is also very popular right now, this period of time in pandemics, but we stress the health tourism only a few years ago, and we started developing it as a separate touristic direction, but connected with other directions as well. So these health centers, they're always complemented with some other programs, with cultural rest, gastro tours, and some others. And the management of the ministry developed several directions, so to say, destinations of cultural, historical, eight destinations that intercross Bulgaria in different directions, spa destinations for health tourism, and destinations of wine gastro tourism. They were developed and are still used by tour operators today, and by regional touristic structures as that complementary direction, so to say, so that they can be united with different products from regions and with destinations. It helps us in promoting and in development, planned development, or steady development of all the regions of Bulgaria. When we discuss the promotion of Bulgaria as a touristic destination on other markets, it's not inseparable from the state and the regions. The state tries to put the region as, you know, they try to collect a puzzle with the help of different regions, because different regions have their own special features, But in the complex and all united, when they have a whole picture, it shows the diversity of Bulgaria. That's why we created a very active working entity within the Ministry of Tourism. It's our National Council, where all major touristic organization heads are represented, and representatives of different regions that somehow connected with tourism. That's why we have the working body that approves and monitors the execution of our annual plan, our annual program on development of tourism in Bulgaria. What we are lacking is development of other touristic products that would be useful for promoting directions. They can give our tourists more information about possibilities of religious tourism, pilgrimage, historical and patriotic tours around the country. But we're working in this direction. We're planning to make programs and to give opportunities to our colleagues from other countries to use these programs. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's another good experience of how it can be developed. Thank you.
It's a very clear picture that you have provided to us. And we need to speed up. We need one more online session. It's going to be Dimitris Haritidis, Tester Greece, head of Testers Greece. Hello, Dimitri.
Да, добрый день у вас. День у нас еще раннее утро.
It's early morning here. Good morning then.
Буквально 3 минуты, 5 максимум.
Within just 5 minutes, please share destination management in Greece.
Ну, вы знаете, на самом деле я вот слушал по поводу...
You know, I've been listening about what you're discussing. It's interesting. Russian tourism is very relevant now, because what we're talking about is the tourism, like domestic tourism. I've heard about how to attract tourists, about Yandex's presentation. This year, Russia didn't have competitors. We need to create products that will be interested to Russians when other countries will be available as well. I know that there's some interesting job done in Krasnaya Polyana, for example. So you should develop your tourism without limitations to go outside. Russian tourists should choose local destinations over foreign destinations. But I see that you are moving forward. Greece depends on tourism a lot. It comprises 22% of GDP and 23% of the population are involved in tourism, so it's vital for economy. And we have a tourism ministry, which
но также у нас довольно хорошо зарекомендовала себя греческая национальная туристическая организация.
The Greece National Association has become very active.
Получила первое место и была
It became #1 as a tourist organization, and it works quite successfully to promote regions. Even though Greece is a small country, it has very different regions, and in general, Greece promotes independent regions. They don't have ministry budgets, and in some big exhibitions, they do not really participate as Greece National Association, but for example, South Aegean region, in the number of hotels, they're number one. Now, northern Greece exhibits its own region. There's a synergy of private and state business and public business. Ministry of Tourism has good advertisements, but it's not independent always. And we also invest into advertisements of tour operators. Alexei knows we have some trips. Alexei knows that Alexei knows how our organization works, but the most important thing in terms of Greece is that Greece depends on seasons. 78% come in the second and third quarter, so it's very hard. We're talking about developing Greece as a 12-month destination. Greece is becoming 3S, 3C Sun Sex destination. It's a big problem we're working on. We're trying to attract destination. We have mountain destinations, mountain skiing destinations, because the first association with Greece is sea, and the other things is later. I had 3 minutes on these, so I just put it into these 3 minutes. Indeed, it was good. Me personally, I arrive at the conclusion that there is no ideal model. Each model is individual. Alexei has a very quick question to you. Just a minute. I can't hear you. Hello, Dimitris. I was glad to see you. 2 years ago, you tried to promote Athens as 12-month destination, but it wasn't successful because the Athens infrastructure wasn't ready for that. Athens is a very specific city. I think that it's not promoted properly because if you take Russia, everyone thinks that downtown is very interesting, and in Athens, you know what we have in downtown in Athens. And people don't like Athens, and they have questions like, why do they come to Athens? The hotels are not ready to participate in it. Athens is the downtown. We need to promote Attics as a destination, and we need to understand that the Athens is basically Attics with big municipalities which should participate in it, and we need to have the synergy of the Attics, of the entire Attics and different municipalities, so that we could position these communities abroad. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. Thank you too. Aren't you tired, colleagues? Shall we continue discussing? First of all, I'm sure I agree with Dimitris that you shouldn't decrease the amount of people coming outside the country. We just need to make Russian products more interesting to Russian tourists. And the domestic tourist development is not about closing borders. It's senseless, except in this pandemic.
вот, даже не обсуждаем. А вот там искусственное какое-то замедление, мне кажется, абсолютно
artificial
как
limits on
зачастую, да,
going to international tourism
молодежь уезжает, да, уезжает в большие
is bad.
города.
Regions complain that the youth go to big cities such as Kazan, St. Petersburg, Moscow.
Маленьких, да, по численности мест переезжают.
So they go from smaller places to larger places.
То есть очень хочу эту позицию с вами обсудить тоже, да.
And I think that there's nothing scary about that.
Проблема в том, что они не возвращаются.
The problem is that they don't come back.
Получил образование.
The fact that young people go somewhere and have some experience outside and give it back to the region is good, but the problem is that they don't come back. Few people don't want to come back to smaller places just because the regional infrastructure, living conditions are quite bad. I had an acquaintance who said, they said that 80% of 80%. They often say that in Russia we have 80% of the dry land, but only 20% of it is possible to live on. Destination management is a good story. We have spoken with international speakers.
По поводу ограничений выезда, да? Тут же есть ограничения текущего года.
Ну нет, я же говорю, что мы пандемию.
А есть ограничения, которые были, например, в 2014, когда был тоже волнообразный скачок роста. В 2014 были.
In 2014, there were economic limitations for going outside. For example, there was an economic crisis in Russia, and the domestic tourism boosted. It skyrocketed just because people didn't have money to go outside. It's better to increase tourism of going outside and domestic tourism.
Ты очередь видел в Миланский собор?
Have you seen when we have people lining up to in Sheregesh, for example, it's not good. Generation of demand should stem from marketing. It should depend on how your staff is trained, how your territory is infrastructurally arranged. We had an issue. We had an issue with people in Sochi. We had an issue in Sochi, for example, during the Olympics, when we didn't have enough people to work for. I'm now giving floor to the head of Krasnaya Polyana. It's a #1 destination, one of the great destinations, Russia. I always wanted to add something to my colleagues because Krasnaya Polyana is a unique case. It has sustainable development because this destination is a national park and a reserve. We have some products, we have understanding our target audience, we have some growth. We have all these components that we've discussed. They are there in this destination. As for the management of the territory, it's the task of all the levels. It's regional level, federal level, in terms of management. In Krasnaya Polyana Resort, we established management company to establish all the transport infrastructure, accommodation, catering and entertainment, and all additional services. Some things people come for. It became obvious that it's more efficient to manage destination through one window. Because when we speak of marketing of this destination, then, for example, Krasnaya Polyana,
исходя из дестинации. То есть мы
Market is based on the destination.
Красная Поляна.
We say to our guests that when you come to winter, you have great mountain skiing, you have great hotels from global brands.
Ни один отель расположен на территории там.
No hotel
Либо там любой другой.
In our resort or any other destination is unable to create a complete product. Today, tourists just doesn't want to hotel.
По объектам, но все равно сейчас не цель поехать в
The purpose now is not just to go to tourism, but to go to location, to get some new experience or knowledge.
Уже немножко так более требовательный турист.
So today, tourists are more demanding to domestic product because when they go outside, they see that these products exist abroad, and therefore they have a similar demand in domestic market as well. And when we manage destinations, then it's
спокойно, совершенно там в таком рабочем формате можно создавать продукты.
Then you can create products that will attract tourists. Within this destination, they will choose this or that hotel or service, such as trainer or kids room. It's an internal service. So that's why management is needed at all the levels. It should be there. It should be within this destination and outside the destination. For instance,
маркетинг, можно сказать, что имея такую координацию управления,
when you have coordinated management of the territory, you can create products that will become marketing tools. An example of our resort, when we were designing the 5-year strategy, we were thinking about the USP, such as something unique in the environment, in the competitive environment, an environment in Russia. And we were looking at benchmarks, at what competitors were offering. We're looking at the tourist demands, and we made a product, a positioning of the product, such as mountainous entertainment resort. It became obvious to us that the guests who come for recreation, they are looking entertainment, different kinds of entertainment. For somebody, that's mountain skiing. Others will want spa. Or it could be some food. And we positioned, we made a positioning, and based on that we made marketing strategy. It's a flagship program that we enter in 2021, and we will promote the whole destination this way to different target levels, to niche audience. For each of them, there is an entertainment of their own. I can tell a lot of things. So, if you need specifications, welcome. We're talking about the consumer experience, the experience that a consumer has.
Иметь customer journey map, да, как точку того, как этим процессом можно управлять.
It's important to have a point of management. Of course.
Чтобы гость возвращался с положительным опытом, да, и с теми
we want the customer to have positive feedback and come back with the positive feedback.
Сергей, вопросы есть какие-то?
Sergey, do you have questions?
Это все-таки вопрос. Мне интересно.
I'm interested.
Сочи, Красная Поляна.
Сочи, Красная Поляна.
Объект, обладающий индивидуальностью.
It's an individual, unique product.
Все, что создано там,
whatever was created there.
Основа такая. Ну, я думаю, я не первый, да?
Was about some event in the past.
Ваш опыт деятельности, модель, которую вы.
The model that you're creating.
Реальные плоды.
That has some fruit. Is it possible to implement it in other regions?
насколько это реалистично, что
Is it realistic to implement your model in any region of Russia? Absolutely realistic. Because if you go back to 2014 Olympiad, when the infrastructure was created there, because I'm dealing with these locations since 2014 after the Olympics ended. There was great infrastructure, but no tourists. So when we
Я подумала, ну, конечно, была Олимпиада, сейчас все сделаем, туристы-то поедут, ну, как же...
So when they invited me, I thought that, of course, if there is infrastructure, tourists will come, but it took us 1.5 years to tell people that Olympiad was here, please come here and check it out. So the case that we have, the format of management, territory management, it can be used in any location or destination because it's just a number of tools and solutions that is based on practice that could be simply adopted. But the format itself, it's unique. Then the key here is that there is infrastructure that you started development. Well, basically, it's not infrastructure, it's just hotels, accommodation. But filling in accommodation, it's not a product. The purpose was to create a product to attract tourists. Of course, we had mountain tracks, but it's not only winter that we have, because it influences people. People can't work just winter only. So winter season is more or less understandable. Come in winter and take a snowboard, but the purpose was to attract tourists every year, around the year. And in 2015, we made a product, and guests were started coming. We created a combo product to show that, for example, it's possible to do something in mountains in summer as well. It's not that we had buildings and we filled them in with people. We created a product. If you have a place where people can live, the purpose is, the target is to find something that would help us to create a product to attract a tourist and offer it to tourists. On the one hand, our solution was unique, but at the same time, it became quite universal as well because it's been replicated in other regions.
Немногих, в стране работающих, по сути, DMO, то есть destination, management, organization. Вот какие KPI являются ключевыми?
Which KPI are key for you that you absolutely necessarily look at, that are vital for you? Where commercial structure, so KPI we're looking at is revenues from the entire territory, not only for hotels, but the general KPI. The number of guests, the number of tourists, because you don't need to have 1 million tourists in maybe you need just 900,000, but we will provide more quality service and reach our financial indicators. The third KPI which is relevant is Trust You ratings, the feedback of the guests. Because we know that the more people that most people who give feedback is something, most feedbacks are negative.
важный инструмент.
It's a very important tool for us, something we work with.
KPI. Ну и индекс NPS, да, который
And the NPS index,
мониторят еще.
we all monitor it. It's another factor.
Вопросы? Давайте, смотрите, как у нас еще есть прям буквально 3-4 минуточки.
We have 3-4 minutes left.
Мы тут, и у нас они есть.
And since we are here,
Да, Ирин,
we can give floor to the audience. Unfortunately, it's impossible to hear the lady who is asking the question. I have a question to Alexei. Alexei said a key thing, that development should come from top to bottom, and I think this is correct. We understand that authorities, business, and public organizations should be coordinated together. Then we will understand how and where we go and the means and resources that we use. But for some reason that doesn't happen. That's because these constituents have different parts. The authorities have one purpose, the business had a third purpose, and public associations had some kind of other purposes. And it's hard to coordinate these three forces. Why it doesn't happen? In fact, it happens sometimes. Management is not only to create something, but it's also to be able to coordinate it with some other participants of the process. Let me give an example as a Тюмень. I was impressed that during the presentation, when federal tour operators came to them, and when they were listening about Тюмень product, 6 local tour operators came up. They knew what they do. They knew what unique should about them, and it was good. I was impressed. So it means that it's possible. My position is that the authorities have organizational and financial resources, and business and restoration and if business knows that the authorities use the resources properly, the businesses come. When they see that the resources are used properly, then they can make agreements. And who should promote this interest? Where does this interest should come from? I think that if it should come from top. I think Красная Поляна, that's a great story, great example. It had infrastructure. But without this infrastructure, we wouldn't have we would have the same thing as in Adler. In Красная Поляна, they managed to agree with public. They set up the correct rules. We set the rules, and everyone works according to rules. In fact, these initiatives are different. Sometimes in some regions it's the authorities that organize everything. In Crimea there was an association of hotel owners which made impact on authority decisions.
Ну а для ательера это значило непосредственные затраты. То есть это люди, которые обслуживают этот процесс, при том, что ательеры с этого ничего не получают, кроме как человека, компьютеры и все остальное, да, технологии. технологий, которые должны это обрабатывать, то вместе объединились, сказали, ребята, нет, мы не готовы. То есть и такие объединения...
These associations of hotels are not always very efficient. The initiative should be from top, it can be from bottom. The initiative can come from anywhere. There should always be some kind of structure, some kind of body, some kind of institution that establishes standards, and then it can be replicated. Thank you for the question, and I think I have the last question for today, and I'm going to ask Graham. We have discussed all our tendencies, all our stories, all cases about tourism development. Do you think we have a chance?
Let me say this. I first came to your country when I was 12 years old. There's probably nobody in this room that was alive when I came to your country. You are very lucky and privileged to live in a country which is the largest country in the world. The potential with this country is amazing. You're all young, while other entrepreneurs, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, these people are looking to space for travel. You were the first country to put Sputnik into space. You're the first country to put a man into space. You have developed some amazing products in your time. So really, you have no borders with developing travel within this marvellous country. Where I think the discussion has gone today, it's looked very inward. I think in many cases we may have missed the goal a little bit by not talking about the simple things in life for the travel industry here. MICE, this event itself is MICE tourism. We haven't really touched on sport tourism, although with ski, I very much acknowledge the development of Sochi. I saw how the president of Kazakhstan, Fetter Tamiz, with developing Sochi in the early days with the Winter Olympics. You did an amazing job with the World Cup here in Russia. I came to it over 2 occasions. I was doing something with social media, excuse me, in Moscow. Actually, we worked with Madeira and Ronaldo and Portugal. Sport, very, very important. But Russia did a great job with hosting. I've worked at 13 World Cups over the last 48 years, so in media centres in those finals. And I would go as far as to say that Russia did as good a job as USA 94. It was, you did an amazing job. So I think the potential here is incredible. You have, I would almost go to say that you could say Russia is a world in one country. But you have to keep things, I think, a little bit more simpler. You've touched on infrastructure, which again, I've been in the industry, this is my 50th year. I'm still learning, like you guys. I still learn everywhere I go. And you do have some marvellous infrastructure. But sometimes you can walk for 10 miles or for 20 miles. You don't need Aeroflot. You do not need a fast train. Take in your countryside. Take in culture. Look at the elements of this country which offer things that no other continent in the world or country has. The Arctic. I mean, I've been speaking to Grant quite recently again after 2 or 3 years about the Russian Arctic is as big as India, and I've heard nobody mention that here on the platform today. It's all very well listening to Bulgaria and to Greece. Every country is different, but your country, you know, you have the Arctic. I love safari. I love Africa. We all have our loves, but I, as a tourist, would love to come to the Arctic. You know, we haven't sort of mentioned even some of the media that can be involved in these things that you have here, National Geographic, all the things that make the heart beat. And I just think that you all here as young people should really grab the nut and make this work for your country. As I say, you have a world in one country here. It's not all about the sun and the beach. There is just so much more to life, and I wish you every success with developing your tourism in Russia.
Thank you.
It's a great country.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Ну, то есть получится, да? Отвечая на мой вопрос, все получится.
So you answered my question. That means that we'll manage it. Thank you very much. Good luck, everybody. Thank you.